Give this a few seconds because sometimes I get cut off. It says live, but I don't know. It says live video started. Okay, hopefully it's working now. Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses, or if you're already flipping or wholesaling houses, how to grow your business. Now, got a question of, well, let me read the question. The question was, title companies handle the transaction after contracts are executed by attorneys on Long Island, right? And that's not really true. So let me explain. First of all, in 49 states, well, most states, in some states there's something else, but in most states, a title company is going to handle the entire purchase and sale transaction on any real estate. So somebody signs a contract, which can be done, just from a buyer to seller, send it to the title company, they order title, sometimes in 3 days they're ready to close. In California, there's also an escrow company that sort of does the money. Title company is different, but the title company and escrow companies work together. There are other attorney states. I think North Carolina's attorney state. All that means is like an attorney has to be affiliated with a title company. Basically, in most of the country, the title company manages the entire transaction. All the money goes through them. Um, Everything is run by the title company. That's why you may have heard the term investor-friendly title company. If you're operating in other states, and I have, you really want a title company that has worked with and understands what an investor wants. In New York, it's dramatically different. The title company is really just a service provider. Okay, they are almost like a surveyor in that, or an insurance company. Um, their job at the closing is to do two things. Their job is to make sure all the liens are paid off. Now, that's also unique to New York, right? In other states, you buy properties, very often there are liens on them. I went maybe 6 years ago to learn from a guy who was buying 50 houses a month in Florida. And he was buying them at auctions, foreclosure auctions. He was doing them online. And he had to run title before he bid on the property. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. Why would you have to do that? Because in New York, every single transaction is clean of any liens. The way it works in other states is it can be subject to other liens. So, for example, you look at a house, you think you'll pay $200,000 for it, it's available for $100,000. You're like, this is the greatest deal ever. The problem is the owner has a federal tax lien of $800,000 on it. Now, you can still buy it for 100, subject to that tax lien. But when you want to sell it, the person buying it is not going to take it subject to that tax lien, which means you have to deal with the other liens. And the only way to know those things is to run title in other states. In New York, and I was buying at auctions there all the time, I never had to run title. I thought this guy was out of his mind. No, but he was right. And I did not have to run title in New York because it's almost implied every time that you're getting title free and clear. If there's anything that's staying on, subject to, then it's really delineated very closely in the contract. I recently bought a house. The seller got a short payoff. Very, very rare to get that. Most of the time, the lender might agree to a short sale, which means we're going to take, the lender is owed $300,000. We're going to take $200,000, but you better sell the property to somebody that you don't know. In this case, the lender was really desperate to get paid, I guess, and they said, we'll take a $200,000 payoff, and with no restrictions. You can do whatever you want. So I bought the property, but the problem was there was all these little crappy parking liens and all this other shit on the property, and I didn't want to pay them off. Because what I was doing is I bought the property from the seller. I paid off his loan, took title to the property, subject to all these other little doohickeys. He was one of the occupants was I checked this in advance, was able to get a mortgage for much more because I bought it well below market. He took out a mortgage and he paid off the liens when he bought it back from me. So in that case, we needed to really delineate every single lien judgment that we were taking the property subject to, right? I bought it with all those things on it because I knew that the guy was going to get a loan and pay me off in a few months later. Actually, it took longer than expected, but it worked. But that's not the norm. In other states, it's very common, which is why you'll hear things like subject to deals, which work and are good. It's a good creative financing technique, just not in New York. In New York, you have a lot of problems with subject to. First is the seller has an attorney. Seller is not going to allow his client to sell a property and have somebody else responsible to make payments that are still on the seller's credit. I would think that if that happened and then the buyer who bought it subject to didn't make the payments, I would think that lawyer would be subject to malpractice lawsuit. Number one. Number two, title companies aren't going to allow it. So that brings us back to title companies. Title company has two jobs. One is to make sure all the liens are paid off, and one is to make sure all the taxes are paid off, which are really two of the same thing. Taxes are complete liens. That's it. So they show up to the closing. If there's a mortgage payoff, which is common, they will pay off the mortgage sometimes. So they will make sure the loan is paid off. Sometimes the money is going to come from the attorney. So in general, an attorney, typically a seller's attorney, is going to manage this transaction. So all the money is going to get wired from the buyer to the seller's attorney, and then the seller's attorney is going to cut a bunch of checks. If there's a mortgage payoff, they're going to cut checks. Maybe the title company tells them, we want you to wire the money, and we want verification that the money was wired. That might happen. Any liens have to be paid off, that'll come out of his funds too. But the title company is not managing the transaction. The title company here sends a closer, title closer. It might be the same I guess it's the same in other states. But title closer there is basically just doing some math, making sure everything gets notarized, and making sure that the deed gets recorded, and that if there's any liens or loans getting paid off, that the satisfactions of those liens are getting recorded. That's it. So they don't manage a transaction. So this question was, they handle a transaction. They don't handle anything, right? And it's different, right? There's no investor-friendly title company in New York. Every title company is pretty much the same. They're basically providing you with a very, very standard service. Their fees are mostly regulated, although sometimes there's junk fees in there. And there are better title companies and worse title companies, but most of them it doesn't matter. But they don't handle the transaction ever. The money doesn't really get sent through them. In 49 other states, the title company runs the whole thing, runs the whole show. All the money goes into the title company, comes out of the title company. They do everything. So, in essence, what's much more important is to find an attorney to represent you if you're a real estate investor who is an investor-friendly attorney, who understands what an assignment of contract, who has done several assignments of contract. Right? Every attorney understands the concept of an assignment of contract. It doesn't mean they've done them. I cannot tell you how many attorneys that I come in contact with that represent the seller, and when I tell them I need the contract assignable, they don't. Their brain explodes out of their ears. Why? Why do you need assignable? And the real answer should be, who gives two shits if it's assignable? Who cares, right? Stupid attorneys will say something like, well, how do I know the guy you assigned to is going to close? And that's just a stupid answer, right? If he's taking my place at the closing, he's at the closing. He's closing, right? So I don't know what you're worried about, right? Also, a good thing would be is if they understand novations, which is very rare. Most attorneys who are really investor friendly don't understand novations. They're almost never done in New York, but that would be good too. Novation means like a replacement. So what I'll do on a novation is I'll be in contract with a seller for, I have a thing going on now, for $525, and then I find a new end user buyer to novate to that will replace me, and they'll buy it for, let's say, $550, and I'll make the difference. I've done a few things on novations. If anybody wants more explanation on novations, you can ask me. I'll talk about novations till I'm blue in the face. It took me a very long time to understand and wrap my head around novations. Also somewhat different in New York because of the way things happen, and there is an attorney. In other states, on a novation, you can get a power of attorney or a limited power of attorney so that you can sign the contract for them. That'll never happen in New York in a million years. So a little different in New York. You can't get a power of attorney, but in other states, people will still have make a novation deal without power of attorney. But it's a very, very powerful tool. I'm doing two of them right now. I'm almost done with two of them, so I'm excited about that because I think it'll get me a lot more deals in the future. And that's what I got on title companies, right? They just show up, get things notarized, they mark up the title policy, which is just a stupid thing where they're omitting or what is it, accept, omit, all that crap. It's almost irrelevant. And they insure you, right? They insure that you are going to have clean first. You're going to own this property clean. There's not going to be anybody who's going to come back later and say it's mine. That's basically what title insurance is. It ensures that you own the property, and it's crucially important. I advise everyone to get it. Mike already asked, can you discuss novations on a future video and how the different assignments? I've done videos on them, but I will do more on novations because I like talking about them because they're exciting to me. Thank you, Mike. So that's all I got. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching and offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in study at home program I have that teaches how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com, which is changing. If any of you got, there's a webinar coming. When the hell is that webinar coming? 29th next week. I have to prepare that webinar. I'm not really sure what I'm going to say. but I'm talking about how I'm changing all my coaching, and this whole thing is changing soon. Um, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. And please keep the questions and comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. Your questions help me. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video on it, as I will for Mike. And if it's something new or something I haven't covered in a while, I will do a brand new video on it. Thank you very, very much for watching.